Okay, so I'm walking outside. I'm in my dirty shirt, obviously. So clearly we're going to be working on the car. Welcome to a Pwnery Tinkers episode. Sorry, my camera's to the left and I'm looking at you on the screen. So anyway, what are we working on today? Well, sit tight and I'll show you. Well, you already saw the preview thumbnail, but we're working on AC today on my 2003 Thunderbird, which is quite dirty right now because I'm trying to run down a coolant leak I've been fighting for 2 years also. It's schizophrenic. It hasn't leaked in 6 days, but it will at random. Anyway, so today, because I have, I believe, a compressor issue, I have 150 pounds of pressure on the high side here, which is too low. Here, which is too low. And I had not much pressure here on the low side. So what I ended up doing was I ended up charging the low side to 75 until the high side came up to 150. That's how bad my compressor, I think, is. I don't have any blockages and I don't have any leaks because the Freon that I had put in it a year ago is still in there. No pressure change. It's just this side is not this side is sucking, but this side's not compressing. So I think the compressor's output seals are shot. So anyway, to do this job, obviously, I'm gonna have to take apart the whole front of the motor, airbox, breathers, covers, yada yada, because the compressor on one of these jokers is at the bottom right corner of the engine. It is such a pain in the butt to get to. The service port's a pain in the butt to get to because the low side service port's over there. But the high side service port is way over here on the Drier, which is very easy to get to, which I'm kind of grateful. And it appears that the only thing holding this on is a clamp down here that holds it around here, and that one nut, which just forms over 2 O-rings on either side. So this will be easy. That's going to be a pain in the ass. So what all do I need? Obviously my wrecked toolbox, which I really need to replace because all the zippers are broken, but at least it keeps all my tools in one place. I need a dryer, I need a compressor, and that box is going to be the compressor oil and a life hack, which I'll show you towards the end of the video. Thanks to Halfass Kustoms for teaching it to me. The vacuum pump, and I just got an electric ratchet just to kind of make some of my life easier, and obviously a bunch of drink, which is iced tea made out of gin instead of water. It is 9 a.m. That will be empty before noon, probably. Anyway, you'll also need, obviously, I call it the Christmas tree, but it's just a set of gauges. So you got your high side cut off, your low side cut off. This is your fill line, or your filling line, or your vacuum line. And then these are your service ports that just hold, they sit into dummy clips here, just for stowage. You're gonna need this so you can read your gauges as you're charging the system or discharging the system. These are also super useful if you're trying to diagnose a problem with your system. There's a couple of really good how-tos out there on the web about what happens when you see a twitching needle, what happens if you see a low number here and a low number here, what happens if you see a high number here and a low number here, etc. They have explanations for all of it. As far as I'm aware, this is the only video that's going to be on YouTube about servicing a Thunderbird's air conditioner, at least to this extent. So what I'm gonna do, there's going to be a lot of cuts, obviously, because you're not going to sit here and listen to me curse and scream like a sailor while I'm trying to take all this apart. But the first thing is this airbox has to come off, this cover has to come off, the breathers have to come off, the serpentine belt has to come off, and hopefully by the time I get all that off, I'll be able to see where my coolant leak is for the 50th time, and maybe finally get that fixed while I'm in here, because it's one of those while you're in there's. And then I gotta go way down here underneath this wheel, take off the inner fender well, and that will give me accessibility to the service, or the manifold for the service port, and the 2 lower bolts that hold the compressor in. The 2 upper bolts hopefully will come out without too much of a fight from up here. So sit tight, and what I'll probably do is meet you back after all this is apart, and I got a good look down there, because this whole job predicates on if I can reach those top 2 bolts. God help me.
A few moments later.
Alright, so it's been about an hour, and this was a bit of a challenge, but I think I got it where I needed to be. So the covers are removed, serpentine belt was taken loose, still haven't found my leak. This is all from the old leak. Yes, the engine's very dirty. I'm going to clean it before I put it all back together. I'm going to need a new belt, obviously. And I took the surface fitting cap off of here. And let me show you how fun it is to take off the bottom, or the compressor. So I had to take the wheel off, obviously. Got all the liners out, all the covers off of here. And by some miracle, I was able to get to the top bolt there, and there's another one back there. I ended up using a 1/2-inch drive socket with a 1/2-inch drive swivel behind a 6-inch long extension and then a 1/2-inch drive ratchet. They were on tight because they've never been off. Here's your low side service fitting. Here's your bottom 2 bolts here. Only 4 that hold the compressor on. Also, don't forget to unplug the clutch cable, which just pops straight off, straight up. I moved it over here to get to the bolt. So the next thing I'm going to do is hook up the Christmas tree to the low side and the high side. The feed line off the Christmas tree to the vacuum pump. I'm going to evac the system. Since it's R134, it's not dangerous or anything, so it's just going to vent to atmosphere. Once I get it down to 0, I'll break that bolt loose, and then we'll drop the compressor straight down under here, in this area here. It should come straight down, like forward and down. Hopefully this controller arm doesn't get in the way. And yeah, I need sway bar end links, which are in my room. But the word of advice, break the top 2 bolts loose and take them all the way out, finger loose, until you can move them. You're not going to be able to get them out because they touch things, but get them all the way out and break these loose. So that way, after you evac the system, you only have to fight these last 2 bolts before you wrestle the compressor out, because it is not a light unit. So anyway, let me get that out of the way, and I'll meet you back while it's doing its vacuum things. Yeah, I'm really tired. It's only like 10 o'clock. It's already 95 degrees. And I'm outside, because I don't have a garage. Lovely.
12 seconds later.
There's the pump doing its thing. Here the gauge is doing their thing. This is clearly going to take some time. Make sure you open up both sides so you pull from both ends. Just wait for the gauge to 0 out. My vacuum pump is fiddling a little bit of oil. That's to be expected, but it's fine. This is draining as it should be. Low side's taking longer than the high side, but whatever. I'll wait till it gets to 0, and I'll start disconnecting some lines.
2 very boring minutes later.
Alright, there we are, 00. Well, the high side's a little vacuumed, but I opened the valve, and I got 0 here, 0 here. Now it should be safe to go ahead and change out the dryer and the compressor. So what I'm going to do, simply because it's easier to get to, is I'm going to change this out first, since this is going to be open to atmosphere a little bit longer than the compressor will be. So now that this is all off, I should be able just to actually just pop this off, right? Yeah, there's no pressure. Go ahead and close this though. It's a good habit to go ahead and close it. I just did that to mainly make sure I didn't have any pressure in the system, because if there was a nominal amount, you would just hear it hiss. But anyway, I'm going to close this, pop this off, change out this dryer, then we'll get to the compressor. It's pretty straightforward, unbolt, bolt in. What I can tell you differently though is these compressors usually come with a small amount of oil. Make sure you check your manufacturer's requirements for oil for your system. Mine takes 7 ounces. So in that box is a bottle of Ford Pag oil. There's 4 ounces in the compressor. I gotta put 3 more in it. So I'll meet you after I put that all back together.
1 hour later.
Fast forward about another 40 minutes, and I got the dryer in, which was fun. You get the strap loose. This will drop down only so far because this line here is rigid. So I took the stud out of the old one, and then it came right off. installed the new one without the stud, put the stud in after I got it centered, tighten the clamp, tighten the nut, that's in. This is closed down, locked down, ready to go. That compressor, you can't see it from here, she ain't easy to get to, but you can do it all from underneath. So, there's the new one. My recommendation is start with the top 2 bolts first, get them started, then get the bottom 2 bolts started, because you have to really wrestle this thing around this boss around the oil pan. I ended up moving this line onto the other side of the sway bar just by massaging it over. Got them in there, torqued them down with my Armstrong torque wrench. You don't want to over tighten these because these are aluminum housings. Then replace the one line, make sure that you have all your oil still in the compressor. I left the, let's see, where is it? I left this plastic service cap on until I had to put the hoses on. And I ended up reusing my original bolt because this one's actually shorter. And now that's hooked up and ready to go. I got the valve open here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up, wash up, and I'm going to run the vacuum pump until I get 30 inch-pounds vacuum. Let it sit, take a little trip over to the auto parts store, pick up a new serpentine belt, a couple of hose clamps for the while I'm in theirs, and then we'll get into the life hacks part of this whole operation, because I'm not using R134. I'm using something totally different and way cooler, literally and figuratively. Sit tight. I'm gonna get the vacuum going. I'll probably just take a photo of that. No sense in making you listen to the pump going. Anyway, I'll be back. Okay, I'm fighting Mother Nature. It's about to rain, so I can't do a couple of the cleaning bits, but it's been about 40 minutes and my gauges are exactly where I had left them. This one never got all the way down to 30, but it hasn't moved since I got it there. This one is at negative 30, we're good to go. These are all closed right now, and now comes the life hacks part. So it's got the 7 ounces of oils in the compressor already. I still got the service lines hooked up. The high side is closed, the low side is closed. Everything is still closed off. So what I'm going to do next is going to require a side can tap. And I'm just going to come over here and verify that the high side is open here, which it is, and closed here, because I just want it for reading. I don't want this open past this through here, the block. This has to stay closed. And the first thing I'm going to do is I need to feed a can into the system while it's still under vacuum. And I'm going to use something that I learned from Halfass Kustoms. So in this box is the life hack. You know this as dust off. Electronics compressed gas dusters. These have been around forever. But you probably didn't know, some of you did. If you go here to the warning, it says contains difluoroethane. And if you do your homework, you'll find that difluoroethane is also known as R154A, which is a direct replacement for R134. Here's the thing. It uses the same volumetric charge, uses the same oil in the same system, the same pressures, but it's 20% more efficient. How neat is that? So I'm going to tap this first can to feed it in the system, and then we're going to start the gauges up. I'm going to start the car on max AC, hoping the compressor kicks on. If not, then I have to bypass the low pressure safety switch, which I don't know where it is on this car yet, but I'll figure it out. And I'll probably meet you while I'm feeding the can in, because I got to set this all up and I don't have a bipod right now. But anyway, that's the life hack. The 2003 Thunderbird takes 28 ounces of refrigerant. These are 3 30-ounce cans, so I'm going to feed the 2 cans in, watch the 3rd can, watch the gauges, and just cut it a little bit short. Anyway, that's the hack. 3-pack of this on Amazon, 17 bucks. R134, well, your price may vary. Anyway, let me get started.
Later.
So this is 2 cans in already. My low pressure side is reading 45. It's a bit high. It's supposed to read about 30. Let's give it a minute to settle in. But you should see the bubbles in the fluid in here. This can's already starting to feel really light. Just walk over here. That's already blowing ice cubes pretty nice. Really nice, actually. Better than it ever was. So now the third part is I gotta put the last can in. I think I'm electric, drive-by-wire, so I'm gonna have to give it a couple of revs over here. That is monumentally different than what I'm used to. Alright, give it a little rev, let the suction line do its thing. Let that settle down a bit. My God, what a difference. Alright, so we've drooped down a bit. My high pressure side is still relatively low. It's only at about 130. It needs to be about 225. So, let me see if I can set this up. I can't set up the camera. Well, maybe I can. Hang on. Let me just put this over here like this. That ain't gonna work. Hang on a sec. Nah, I'll be back. Let me tap the third can.
12 seconds later.
Alright, so this is the third can. I just tapped it, but I haven't opened the valve yet so you can see it work. You're going to see the oil and the Freon in here bubbling away as I open this can. See? It's feeding from the can through the low side on the suction side of the compressor. You notice that low side needle's really not moving, which means it's stable where it's at, and I can live with that. That's about 40. Should be a little into the 30s, but I'm watching this high pressure side mostly. What I really need is that high pressure side to get up to about 200-ish. And the system will take only what you give it, so I'm not worried about it overcharging. And if it does slightly overcharge, the air will just get warmer. But for now, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to, which is fantastic, because I have never felt this car get this cool, this quick, on a 100-degree day, which it is right now. This can is cold to the touch because there's a lot of liquid turning into gas going through this line, as you can see here. I'm just going to let it eat the whole can. Screw it. It's only 2 ounces. And then I'll just bleed it back just a hair. Actually, let me check. Ice cubes. You know, there's a really good feeling when you do this right. Alright, so I'm just about at 200. You don't want it to peak past 225, from what I'm told, at idle. So, if I accelerate and then it revs out, then what will end up happening is the high pressure cutoff will shut off the compressor, and I'll know that I got it overcharged. But for now, I'm going to stop it short just here, because this feels really good already in the car. Cut this off. Give the car a rev or two. Let's see what the gauges read out while I've got the system resealed back up. Holy cow. So we're going to get this up to about 2,000 RPM. I just heard the compressor kick back on. Man, that feels so good. You have no idea. I've been fighting my air conditioner for almost a year now. Definitely compressor related. It's got a new dryer in it now too. Sorry about the blur back there. Yeah, it's pretty good. I think I'm going to open it up, let it take the rest of the can. Might as well. This is my Mini Cooper. This will be in another video here shortly. Go ahead and open this back up. I'm going to let her drink the rest of it. There it goes. Just getting about where it needs to be. about 225-ish. Electric fan's just kicked on, so I know that's good. R134 reading, let's see, about what, 40? A little under 40? It's a little high, but this is dropping off, so it'll be fine. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and close this off. I don't think the system's taking any more anyway. Yeah. And then if you're afraid of freezing your hand or whatever, the cool thing about these is you can tear off the safety, like so. And then pull the trigger to bleed it off, which there wasn't much left, as you can hear. The other thing is when it's almost empty like this and you open your side can tap, the air coming out of this will actually be warm because you got most of the chemical out of it already. So I'll just bleed that can off. Not a big deal. It's kind of frosty down there. That's good. And then we just unhook it like this. Open it slowly because you don't want to freeze your O-ring down there. And let the can drop free. Well, if I had two hands, I could let the can drop free. Well, just take my word for it. Anyway, so this system is now closed off. Low pressure side is still reading where it's supposed to, about 30 to 40. Actually, if I go by these numbers, it's about 40. If I read over here, it's just barely over 200 psi for the high side, which is perfectly acceptable. I'll come over here again. Still feels really good, actually. I don't have a thermometer, otherwise I'd show you. It's blowing out about, realistically, somewhere in the 50s, maybe the high 40s. And it's only registering 88 outside because I'm parked in the shade. It's pretty hot out. I guess I'm gonna turn the system off. Off. Turn on again, see if the compressor kicks on. It did. Heard the click. Instant cold. That makes me really happy. Alright, so let me get the car buttoned up and I'll give you my final thoughts.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
Actually, before I button everything up, I wanted to show you something. I shut the car down. I'm listening for leaks. I was stuck my head over there on that end because that's the part I replaced. Stuck my head down there on that end, down that end because that's the other part I replaced. No sound. That's the good news. The other good news is equalizing pressure. If your compressor is working properly, it should equalize at the same PSI on both sides. 100, 100. We're done. We're golden. Anyway, sit back. Let me get this all back together. I got to put the wheel back together, the wheel well. I was going to do a flush, but now the engine's up to operating temperature, so I really can't do that today. Let me get this all buttoned up, give you my final thoughts on how difficult this was. Be surprised. Man, what a rewarding experience.
More moments later.
Alright, so I'm hot, and I'm tired, and I'm done. But it's all back together. And I have air conditioning again. Proper working air conditioning again. So, my thoughts. The reason I did this job is because that Chrysler over there cost me $2,400 to fix the air conditioner. And it was a faulty compressor. Long story, they wouldn't cover it. So, after seeing that, I decided to price out what I needed. And I'll try to give you links in the description below. But the compressor with the dryer as a combo set me back $210, not bad. The vacuum pump, which I guess if I were to do a product review, was awesome. The pump with the Christmas trees and all the fittings with the oil, was $130. So that was a great deal. And most of the tools I already had. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, how would I rate this? If I'm 43 and I got arthritis in my left hand really bad last night, but I woke up and it kind of calmed down. And my neck is killing me because I laid on my back and craned my head forward while I'm working underneath the car. But I managed just fine. So, and it's 104 outside right now. Yeah, it's pretty hot. So anyway, this job here, I guess, in a rating of 1 to 5, this job here is 4 Samuel L's. Yeah, because it's bad. Those bottom bolts are a bitch, and it was a lot of wrestling to get that compressor back in there. But got it in there, it all works, so it's great. So anyway, next up for the channel, for tinkers, will probably be that Mini Cooper. I got to replace parts in the cylinder head to get that up and running. That's the only thing it needs is a couple of valve springs and a valve, which I bought all new ones. And my neighbor and I are going to tackle that because he knows how to work on overhead cam engines. And this one's good to go until I can tear it apart a second time later on, better weather, and well, hopefully find the leak. Got a new belt, got new hoses, got new clamps, ready to go. So that's already done. But anyway, I'm done with this one here. So anyway, this is Pwnery Tinkers air conditioning redo. Yeah, 4 Samuel L's. If you're new to my channel, welcome. But if you're a regular here, welcome back. Either way, check out my other playlist and see if my other interests are of interest to you. I also do a show every Friday called The War Room, which covers Russia's incursion into Ukraine. Try to keep it under an hour, but it always goes to 2 to 4 hours. So sorry about that if you watch them all, I'll catch them on the replays. Anyway, I'm all done. I'm hotter than hell. I gotta get cleaned up, take my mother shopping, get this car washed, and enjoy my new AC. So anyway, thanks for watching. Maybe hit like, maybe share it with somebody else, maybe hit subscribe, since I am the first guy on YouTube to do AC on a Thunderbird, a retro one. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Slava Ukraini.